Great. So, Jenna?
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about authentic storytelling.
Thanks. Hi, everybody. So today I'm going to share some simple guidelines for telling a story, whether it is a story of a company, an employee, a specific initiative, or even a story of an unrelated person who lives the values that you want to associate with your company. Purpose-driven brands, brands that go beyond profit, are appealing to the consumer's heart. And so I feel that they have a very, very heavy responsibility of honesty. Communications must be specialized with this in mind. Integrity is the backbone of this type of storytelling. So how do you create a narrative that is relatable? Humor. Humor is a very powerful weapon. Please just use it tastefully. Obstacles. A good plot often has an obstacle which the main character or the main company has to overcome in their path to success. So sharing these challenges, even when at first they end in failure, and I would even venture to say, especially when they end in failure, that builds trust with your audience, right? And I know it sounds counterintuitive, everyone wants to look great all the time, but we all love an epic fail and a subsequent rise from the ashes. Imperfections. Using real people with all of their flaws, all of their emotions, all of their personality allows the audience to see themselves in those stories. It's more relatable, it's more truthful, and it's more impactful. Values. Communicating your values can often be more important than showing what you make or what you offer. The audience takes these identifiable values and they associate them with your entire brand. So at face value, this is a photograph of a bunch of men with tools. But the implicit values are dedication, competence, capability, among others. And this is a photo we made for a company that produces clean water systems. So nowhere in that photo do you see the product. Okay, so I am going to show you guys a 2-minute video. I hope you can hear it and I hope it works. This is an example of complete value-based brand identity.
The responses are interesting. Either they get it right away and they think it's the most amazing thing they've ever heard of, or they think it's just completely absurd and a waste of time. Hikaru Dordango is Japanese for shiny dumpling, I think is the exact translation. Dordango is a mud ball that is carefully formed, and you just start forming the sphere and you'll start adding the dry material to it. Once I read about it, I had to do it myself. I was out doing it the next day. It took me 30 tries, maybe even a little bit more. I was very persistent at it and kept at it solid for probably a month. I'm continuously interested in different things. I always want to experiment with different soils, and there's always the chance I'll get better at it. It's something I can improve on. It's very relaxing that way, and it's so easy to get sucked into a flow state.
So, you may notice that footwear was not the focus of this video, but you may still associate the values expressed in the video with Bronson's boots. So I feel I actually should mention that Bronson's boots only exists as a case study, but Bruce and his Dordango actually do exist, and they're in Albuquerque, New Mexico. So that is an example of completely value-based branding. So let's talk for a moment now about the different styles of presentation, and what follows are some extreme examples to illustrate my point. The appeal to the intellectual. and the appeal to the emotional. The graph doesn't present any values anyone can associate with your company. Over-dramatization panders to the low base and sells the audience short, and it basically tells them, you know, we don't care what you think, we're not going to give you enough information to arrive at your own conclusion, we're just going to use music and imagery to tell you exactly how you should feel. So that's like Hollywood in a nutshell, right? But what this approach lacks is authenticity, and that is the opposite value of what you want associated with your company. So now I'm going to show you another video. It's 3 minutes short, and this presents an even balance between information and emotion, because you do need both. You just have to be very careful about the balance. And yes, this is a real company and a real client of ours.
The utilities group has always been a small group. It started with one, and it doubled with two when Brad came online. Looking back at these projects, it seems rather overwhelming.
All we had was really a vision that took us about 5 years to develop. We knew it was going to be a challenging project with a lot of various issues that we hadn't dealt with previously.
In spite of all of the obstacles that we encountered, it was actually a very fun project to do, even though I have more gray hairs now.
Okay. One of the challenges in developing this project was identifying county properties that had little alternative use, so we could put solar there.
The Hellier site was unique compared to the other sites that we developed because it is a closed landfill. We could not penetrate the surface of the cap, so we had to design and build this system above ground. So essentially it's a floating system. Fortunately for us, we worked with our parks department, and they were able to guide us also through the process of how to be able to use the land.
I like that the people here really care about their parks and open space. When park visitors come into Hellier and they look at what was formerly a landfill, many people are really happy to hear that we've made a great use of that site. And instead of that former landfill being a detriment, it's really an enhancement.
Now, I will have to say that two people alone does not make up the whole team. There are a number of folks out there that have helped tremendously. I don't think these projects would have been possible without everyone's contribution. The county is not afraid of embracing new technologies. One of the things that it always tries to do is to be a leader in renewable and clean energy. And I can say that I am proud that we've accomplished that.
So again, you see here, there is information, there's also emotion, but I also think it's interesting that this is a video that isn't really about SunPower, right? It's about two people who wanted to get something done, and they figured out how to do it. So how do you find your story? Here are some questions that you can ask yourself, and I have a slide at the end that you guys can take a photo of if you want, if you need this for future reference. Who do I want to reach? What do I want to share? And when you're thinking about that, you have to remember that really 2 to 3 major items in a 3-minute piece is about the max. So we often find that people tend to want to overload information into a short piece. It's actually better to make segmented pieces or episodes than cram too much information in there. So 2 to 3 major items per 3-minute video, roughly. What are the most relatable aspects of my company or project or initiative? And who is best to tell the story? And this is very important. Is it somebody in my company? Is it a client? Is it a consumer? Or is it somebody completely unaffiliated, but who is a person who lives the values that you'd like your company to be associated with? And I think that that is an underestimated, powerful thing. A lot of people don't think that far out. but it's very useful. So you want a narrator or a character that has certain attributes, someone that is approachable, someone that people can identify with, someone that people can trust and feel comfortable listening to, because it is, again, all about authenticity and integrity. From the creative perspective, which is where I come from, that side, there are some elements that make a production more effective. I'm just gonna share with you for your thought process. One of the biggest ones is B-roll. And if you don't know, B-roll is anything that's not A-roll, and A-roll is only focused, that really concentrates on the subject, okay? So A-roll is about the subject, B-roll is everything else, and it's really, really, really important. It's way more important than most people suspect, because it's actually what illustrates the story and gives it the body. So you can have a talking head here or there, but like as you saw in that past video, then you gotta fill it in with all the emotional stuff, all the setting of the scene. So that's all the B-roll. And a good production company will go and shoot a lot of B-roll, way more than you need, because what you need depends on how you edit the story together at the end. Shooting a lot of B-roll takes time. So it's important to consider that when you're planning your schedule. A lot of people just don't understand that is actually time well invested. So B-roll, very crucial. And you want music. You want music that complements your story. The drama is in the story, not in the music. Here's an example. So there you go. All right, pacing. Some advertisers take too long to tell you information that you already know. Sometimes quicker pacing is more effective.
American ingenuity. American manufacturing. American values. Boulder electric vehicle.
So, those are some things that the creative team will help you with, whether it's in-house, out-of-house, both, a little bit of everything. But it is really good to be aware of them ahead of time. And if you are aware of them ahead of time, then anyone you work with will be super impressed. So this is a summary right here of everything that I mentioned. You're welcome to take a photo of it for reference. I'll leave it up. Looks like we have a little bit of time. Also, we are here, Meredith and I, for the entire conference. If you want to grab a drink, you have questions, you want to chat, let me know. All right, thank you then.